Good morning. I wasn't sure what to write this morning, but something told me to open my Facebook memories, and as soon as I did, I knew why. The first image that hit my eye was a video that I took 2 years ago this day. It was taken from inside the plane I was flying in for the single most difficult time in my life. The plane was lowering over my hometown, and beneath it was a rainbow. I had never seen such a sight, and I knew it was a sign. I was terrified and sick with COVID and unaware. I was going to see my mom for what I knew was the last time. She was 86, and over the last year previous, she had suffered a number of strokes that had left her unable to use the right side of her body. The strokes had also robbed her of clear speech, and communication was almost impossible. Seeing my mother, who I was so close to, suffering was not something I wanted to do. Little did I know that this trip would be filled with miracles, along with devastation. The small plane landed, and I exited and walked to the airport building as I had done so many years previously. And just like the many years previously, I could already see my family watching me from the airport window, waiting for my arrival. But this time, Mom was in a wheelchair, and my brother was there too. He had also come up, and he had been staying with my parents for the last few months trying to help. I was sick, but I had taken a COVID test before leaving home and got a negative result, so I thought I was safe. The last thing in the world I wanted to do was bring COVID to my elderly parents, especially my frail mom. As I got closer, I saw how small my mom looked. She had lost weight, and she looked so frail. Her beautiful smile was a little crooked. I hugged everyone, and we collected my suitcase and went to my parents' car for the trip to my parents' trailer. Lying so perfectly beside their car was a yellow butterfly, and I picked it up to look closer. It had died, but there was no damage to its wings. It was still beautiful. My mom and I had a moment with it, holding it together, and in my heart I knew it was a sign. My mom was about to get her wings, and she would still be beautiful. I was there for 7 days, the worst 7 days of my life, and also the most beautiful. Despite the damage done to her voice, Mom and I spoke. If you were exceedingly patient, you could still communicate with her. No one else had been patient before. Seeing my beautiful mother trapped in her body broke me, and I don't think I will ever get over it. But along with that, every childhood trauma was also thrown in my face in a way that destroyed me. My dad was unknowingly descending into dementia, and he was at his most abusive. He had been threatening to the home care workers, and they had stopped coming. My mom hadn't had a bath in I'm not sure how long. My dad was cruel. He spewed angry, hurtful things at us all, and it devastated my mom to see him treat her kids so unkind. To this day, I can still hear her sobbing in the bedroom beside the room I stayed in. I took another COVID test when we got to my parents out of suspicion, and it came out positive. I was terrified, but I had nowhere else to go and no money for a hotel. We all also knew that this was the last visit ever with my mom, and frankly, my mom didn't care. So I washed my hands obsessively and wore my mask around them and tried to keep my distance, but I stayed and cherished every single moment, even the hard ones. I took care of the first woman to take care of me. We figured out how to give her a bath, even though I was scared she would fall. I painted her nails, and we drank rosé and FaceTimed my daughter. And we talked. The one thing I was most afraid of, we overcame. It wasn't easy, and it involved incredible patience, but Mom and I talked. She told me her regrets and how she wished she had left my dad. It was a weird thing for me to hear, and it left me with so much sadness for her. I had watched her give herself away my whole life. It was symbolic to me to see her now without a voice, and she hadn't used her voice in her life. And now in her frail state, my dad was at his worst. It still haunts me. It took me a while to heal from that trip. I remember one very painful night after my return home. I had a bottle of wine and was in the bathtub screaming and crying at God. How could he let her hurt so much? As I write The tears still streamed down my face. My poor mama. But today is the anniversary of that trip, and since I have forgiven my dad, who is now living in long-term care, we can only do what we know, and we are not always our best. We are human. I have a tattoo of that butterfly I found beside the car, tattooed into my skin, so that I always have a piece of my mom with me. She would get her wings less than a month after this day.